one step further, right? We cannot talk about international expansion without talking about different languages and different cultures, right? Um, so when if you want to grow your business in another country, you have to localize the product or the service. You have to potentially provide language support for your users, and you need to contextualize your offering with the local culture, right? So you cannot offer something that is deemed offensive or taboo or not relevant for some specific countries or cultures. Um, you're an expert in international expansion. You're an expert into like adapting that content and that product into the local markets. Give us some insights on this when it comes to the localization and the language support.
Yeah, I a lot a lot of thoughts in my mind. Actually, I feel one of the things that I often encourage my team is, yes, we are looking for uniqueness, but we can also benefit from looking at similarities. I remember when I landed in Japan many years ago. I remember the Japanese team often say, "But we are very different. Our market is very different. This and this very different." And I felt, yeah, I get it. I'm here to learn the difference as well. But can we also shift the language slightly? That, hey, this is what is different here, but this is also similar pain point as other countries, and here is how. And once we shift the language, it's invite a little bit more collaborations, and actually more and more global people are starting, okay, I'm interested, hear me more. How can we, if we solve this problem in Japan, how can we scale to other countries? And we start to actually receive more collaborations by just shifting the gear a little bit, right? And there's a lot of examples around this, sometimes a lot of ideas that originate from Asia, many times out of survival mode because we think we are so different. It can also be the world's solutions. I remember in the scaling stage of online advertising, Google really tried to grow export and e-commerce advertising, and the idea that come from the customer experience team in Asia actually, hey, in Asia we have a lot of seasonal festivals that present variety of shopping opportunities, and how do we make sure we remind and we equip advertiser to maximize that business opportunities. And they come up with the idea of seasonal festivals reminder and ad scheduling, almost out of survival, that we think that our country is so unique and so fragmented. But this small pilot actually gaining tractions, and fast forward to many years, this become a mainstream and highly sophisticated products that is well integrated in the machine of online advertising. And there are many, many examples like this that actually sometimes we're trying to solve the problem for one country, but actually it's a similar pain point that show up in a different shape and form, and how can we find the common ground that scale it further. So that would be my first point. And you touch on multiple different things, Lucas. I think the second thing you touch on is also how do we balance the differentiation of different countries. Uh, Oftentimes, the company often have a strategic investment plan for some certain segment of the customers. When Google wanted to invest in agency segment, the company came up with the global agency program support that at the very, very beginning is very global in nature. Everybody adopted. But once we adopt it, we started to realize that the market landscape offer a different insight. So the agency landscape in Korea, agency landscape in Japan function slightly differently. So we have to go from the global framework and adapt it a little bit to fit the market nuance. So we look again at what is the right success measurement, and it's going to be a good balance of what is the right level of consistency that we need as part of the global company, and what are the flexibility that each country might have to strike that balance. In Airbnb as well, sometimes we have the dedicated program for certain segment as well, and the right balance between global and regional are often
Mhm.
discussed too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, you also touch on language support
yeah,
um, a little bit. So I thought that was a very, very interesting thought, and it's almost integral to any business plan that need to scale internationally. And I would say there could be three ways, three layers that we could look at language support. The first thing is that how can we just make the language support more accessible in the key languages that is there is very crucial in any business, like of course with Airbnb, of course, as it's travel business, but also any platform, any internet platform that is required. And how do we leverage conversational AI to make that accessibility of the language support become more seamless? How do we make sure that conversation, either through human or through non-humans, how can we make sure that it's strike the right balance at the right
yeah,
contextual level, right? The next layer to that is also, how can we integrate generative AI to help build contents, right? If the host want to publish their listing in 15 languages in one go, how can we integrate the technology to enable that in a very professional way? And this is the same for any platform business that would require this. And lastly, how do we make sure that we tap into the to other languages that is maybe not a key market that the company is willing to invest fully? How can we partner with other third-party service provider to actually have access to interpreter service, or do something that is more scaling to actually penetrate to any other non-frontier part of the world as well? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we've seen obviously with the rise of the recent technologies, we'll see a lot of opportunities here that we can make our operations more efficient. We can offer tools for users, whether they're guest hosts or advertisers, to come up with their, if they need to create some form of content, like in the example you provided, a host needs to create content for their listing. These kind of tools can really help exponentially expedite the creation of that. Um, how it's going to be used in customer facing applications. So an agent maybe replying back to a customer, or a machine just replying back to a customer without any human intervention. That remains to be seen. We still haven't seen the full effect of it. I know that it's been talked a lot in the market, but we haven't really seen any solid implementations at scale, um, especially for a business that relies a lot on human element and
Yeah.
mediation.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen how this technology can be leveraged. But when it comes to, I think, translations and languages, there's also the context of the culture in play. So I could speak French, but a French speaker in France will pick up certain nuances in a message that I might not, because I'm not from there. I don't understand how phrases or words can be used to mean something different. And I don't know how a machine can replicate that, especially since this is a living thing that changes every year, every generation. Humans might not be replaced after all in some context.
Definitely, and it's still in early days. We shall watch and see. We can be. It's exciting stage that we are in, right? So we can see
It
and
is.
witness and together, and maybe with trial and error as well. And oftentimes, technology can surprise us. It's a matter of a time frame, and we see. Yeah.